So, intention of this video is just to share the lessons that I've learned when it comes to selling my companies that happened 7 years ago. So, in the Google Memories that popped up today, it showed me a picture of going to the bank, and I was going to the bank in Denver, Colorado, where I finally sold my companies. It was like a 2-year effort, and my intention in this video is just to share the lessons, whether if you own a company or not. Maybe you have employees, maybe you don't, but just the lessons and the power that actually comes from clear intentions, no matter how long it takes. Even selling the company 7 years ago, that means I was 43. I started the companies when I was 22. They weren't doing anything until I was 25 or 26, where I was actually able to start making some money to quit the side businesses. But there's just so many good lessons in it. And the first thing that comes to mind is the power of intention and the power of what we want and the power of putting our mind into something, and how when we set that intention, how the universe comes to conspire around it. I know that when I was 22, those first companies were birthed from the knowing, when I was in school, that most of the system is just bullshit. And I did not want to have how does Eminem put it? The last thing I want to do is be caught in just a normal job in life. And I just didn't want to be caught in that. I didn't know the way out. I didn't know how to do it. Luckily, I had a great dad who was an entrepreneur, and I had those role models. And I just knew I wanted to experience more in life. And if I want to experience more in life, that means I get to have a lot more time off in life. And if I'm going to have a lot more time off in life compared to the 50 weeks on or the 2 weeks off, or being this mundane cycle, that I knew I had to create something for myself. And the good news is, whether if you own a business or even not, there's so many people who create it, even if you aren't your own entrepreneur or if your own business. And I just firmly believe that time freedom is the most important asset in our life, because time is our most precious asset. And not just having the time freedom to do these things, but we actually have the mental freedom to be present with it, with all that we're doing. And one thing that comes to mind now is, it is so crazy how many years that set in. I think the first time was in 5th grade. And I'm like, I'm doing something different. Said screw the firms when I graduated. Instead of taking an $80K a year offer, I went to go work for $14K a year in the middle of a ski town. And the power of that intention and that why of what drove me through all these years while working construction, doing it on a roof, roofing houses in the middle of the snow, I just knew there was another way out. And I remember writing down when I was still in Arizona, so I still had my first companies. I think I just kind of bought out the second one in Denver. Was I will be selling my companies by roughly this date and have this estimated net worth. And the net worth wasn't anything astronomical. There's no Elon Musk, there's no Fortune 500, but I just knew what I needed to do. And it's so crazy that I think my goal was 42. And I believe I sold it when I was 42 or either 43 years old. So that power of intention and the way the universe conspires, in our timeline, is insane. It's crazy to look back that was roughly a 13-year message that I had written down to go do those things, to say, this is my time. This is what I want on by. And it wasn't just having that ability to have a lot more time freedom by the time I was 42. One of the blessings I've had, which I love giving to other people, my businesses created so much time freedom by the time I was roughly, I think I was around 29 to 31, where I started to have at least 3 to 6 months off every year. Radical time freedom and flexibility. Mainly, let's just get this straight. There was 2 things that happened. The businesses grew so fast, and I was starting to be buried underneath them, that I finally learned the basic principles. Call it business operations, call it time management, call it ops, call it systems and processes, call it what you will. But I took a month to learn that. That was huge. The other things, my biggest gifts and my crazy gratitude and universe conspiracies were, who are the people that I got to have on my team? I had a head of operations in Arizona who was my first hire at like $8 an hour, who was a best friend, who was like the lead in growing my companies. And then when we bought out the ones in Denver, the person that kept coming in 2 months after I bought it, kept coming in consistently to say, I could do this. That person came in as that head of operations. So in summary, who's on your bus? I have so much gratitude and the fortune and the luck that those two people walked in and taught me things on like trust and loyalty, to learn to give up control, to see all of those areas where like I was fucking up the operation because I didn't give them enough. I want to say get enough power. They had the power to run it all, but I would come in and my systems mindset and my efficiency and wanting to get things done would almost like interfere with their power in the operation. So in summary, having those right people on who's on your bus is everything. And number two is learning the principles of time management and systems and processes, and being a COO and business ops is so easy to do that return on investment for the time and mental energy for myself and everyone inside the company was awesome. I mean, we became ranked in the top productivity companies in the world for over a decade. We had unlimited time off requests. We set sales growth records. And it was just a gift because you're here. I believe that we're here to work to live, not to live to work, not to be stuck in these things, doing what we're doing. And even while we're working, that it gets to be from a place of being in control and empowerment was there. Like, those are some really big lessons. What you study, who's on the bus, that was big freedom. The power of intention in writing things down, and notice how close that follows through almost when you're writing things down from over a decade before, and how it comes so clear in the month. Just awesome. Just awesome. And what was interesting when I went to go sell those, I believe that when we have these crazy goals in mind, that we don't even notice the celebration. We don't even hit it and then go celebrate that crazy goal. It's almost like it passes us. And there's so much truth that there was just so much joy that money cannot buy in the process of it. You cannot buy, no amount of money can buy the people that I first had on my team, the first 4, where we had 0% turnover in 9 years. The people that we hired who had no schooling accolades, no business accolades. They just loved it what we did. They were creative as fuck. We could work around a ping pong table. We can get ourselves around 4 computers and somehow work the magic of simply like selling some drums and percussion gear online and just come and like disrupt an industry with what we knew and who we were. And we didn't even really know much. We didn't know much. We just kind of had our own unique personality blend, and it brought so much to the table. In this moment, another thing you get to study and you get to have empowered for yourself is a lesson that I learned on why most small businesses also go out of business. One is not knowing your systems and processes or business ops or time management skills. Call it the David Allen, call it the Sam Carpenter, call it the Dan Martell. They are necessary. The other one is because business is money and there's a language to business and money, that language is called accounting and financial intelligence. And if you aren't doing and reviewing your own accounting and financial intelligence, if you are even delegating that role to an accountant and you aren't a part of that and you don't take the 2 to 4 weeks to study that, which is all you really need to do to take the time of it, you are setting yourself up for radical failure. Like, my dad brought that up. He's like, watch how many people will go out of business when times get tough, because all times get tough. All times get tough in business. I've been through 3 major economic downturns, and this is one thing I noticed and learned. You better know your own accounting and financial intelligence, which is so easy to learn. You better know your operational efficiency and your systems and processes so you can have the structure to adapt fast and shrink and scale with ease. And have 1 or 2 of those right-hand people that just teach you love and loyalty and trust, and this, you can make it through, and you can make it through. And so you get to have that accounting and financial intelligence, even as a person. So even as a person, the top 3 things that people study these days outside of school is health, wealth, and relationships, right? Notice how that's not in the school system, at least 99% of it. But if all adults are investing their time, money, and energy into their health and their wealth, so they can have freedom, at least having enough to get by and at least having enough left over so you can save it, and a little bit to keep investing so that compounds, so you get the freedom that you reserve, and it eventually becomes a passive income to live your basic life, right? Money matters. And if money matters to you as an individual and a person, and you get to value it inside a business and the business of your life because you deserve it, if that actually matters to you, your first thing to go do is go to study and learn the basics of the accounting and financial principles. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need a degree. I got a degree. I've studied accounting since I was 15. Most of that shit you don't need to know. The basics are so good. And one of the best people that I watched teach people who didn't understand accounting and financial intelligence, which was 98% of the room in business mastery courses by Tony Robbins, was Keith Cunningham. Literally, you should be able to feel how the money flows through you and into the financials, which is only your profit and loss statement, which translating that is simply, here's money in, here's money out, here's what's left over. What do you do with it? Here's your balance sheet, which is simply all your things and stuff and the people that you owe and what's left over. You getting a radical return on your investment for your time, your money, and your freedom, what is non-negotiable, is studying that. If you want to know where to go and what the links are for it, hit me up. I'll forward you that. And the operational efficiency of your life. Money and time, money and time, money and time, money and time, time and money, time and money, time and money, right? You and your team deserve so much time off. And 95% or more of the people that I see, if you're running a company or just running your life, it's people, most of the companies I'm involved with are the employees who all have amazing lives. They also want to be successful in their life, right? So coming from that, they have lives to live. They have a company org chart at home. You have your health, you have your wealth, you have your relationships with your partnership, with your friends, with your tribe, with yourself. You have a home that you need to keep track of. You want to give back as a person. You have a source of candy where there's a self-actualization in your life where you're always going to be fucking growing. Whether you want to learn a new language, go to a new place, help some more people out, start a side business, become a better mom, a better parent, tap into your friends. What's your mindset like? Like, it is never ending, right? And there are such easy ways to set yourself up to where you can not only control it, know where it's at, and you can empower it. And you could easily cut 75 to 80% of the time and the mental energy that it takes for you to actually manage that so that you can soar. You can tell if you're not soaring, if you have these pain points like, I'm so overwhelmed with all I got to manage. Hey, you being busy and all you got to do, let me guess, you're not a fucking snowflake. You're not. Everyone's busy. I haven't met anyone who isn't busy. Like, they're using the busy card. Oh, I'm so busy being a parent. I'm so busy running this business. I'm so busy with this life. We're all busy. We all don't have enough time in a week or a month in a year to do all the things that we love or even to maintain what we want to be doing, right? We don't. We don't. But there's a way when you're saying that you're so overwhelmed that you have to do and you know that you're not in control, when you're managing most of the world from your head instead of it being into a simple system, or if you're out of your head and things are all over the place, it is so easy to train yourself within 1 to 2 weeks where you're going to free up a minimum of 500 to 1,000 hours per year so you can be focusing on the things that actually matter. And so these lessons in like selling to companies, I started to able to operate multiple companies in multiple states. That is my business now. I just love bringing freedom to entrepreneurs and small business teams and success-driven individuals. Normally within 2 weeks, we can take them from time poor, overwhelmed, and stressed to a ton of time freedom, having multiple months off every single year while things are running well without you, being involved in a team where you're adaptable, where you can take each other's jobs over and you're also scalable, and it's so easy to onboard people in like a fraction of the time and the energy. I just think it's why you're here. Like, in summary, know what you're studying, You get to study. If you really care about having free time in your life and you being in a place of control and trust and confidence that you can handle it all, so you have a structure to handle a ton more, and you can, like the Maslow's pyramid, not only do you have the basics covered, but you get to self-actualize a F at the top and just scream that. It's your structure, AKA your system, AKA being out of the head and clear with everything you want to manage and grow, and it's so easy. If your money matters, go study accounting and financial intelligence. Don't need a degree. There's plenty of things and people out there where you can study that in 2 to 4 weeks, and you can feel the heartbeat. If your heart matters to you, right? Don't you go to a doctor a lot to feel your heartbeat? Don't you go get that stuff measured? Don't you? What would it be like every week to feel the heartbeat of your financials with you and your team? What would it be like to feel the heartbeat of every area in your life? I have a pretty good cadence where I can almost tell you every week is what is the heartbeat of every area of my life. It could be my mental health, my physical health, my home, and how I'm feeling about my home. How is the relationships in my, call it sex and dating and life partnership goal, like truly being involved with someone with the rest of my life, with my family, with my tribe, with how am I giving back? How is my fun and my adventure? How is my never-ending development of Brad? It's no different than your business org chart, because you have a cadence to set yourself up with that in order to check in with that. And it's so easy because you get to be measuring that and feeling that. That was a huge revolution. And you could run, think about all the areas of your life and how powerful you are and all the time that it takes to do the things, from managing your health, maybe managing your kids, managing your friends, keeping the home together. What if you had 500 to 2,000% more time, and more importantly, your mental cognitive load in actually order to handle that? Man, it's so awesome. Like I'm sitting here like on my deck, like I just got this home in Miami, and it was a couple months ago. And like I'm sitting here, and all this was from writing and clear intentions. And I was in my deep shit like 1 to 2 years ago. I was like coming out of like dad passing and one business going under that I just loved, and a Boston community that I loved, and a relationship that I loved, and a partnership that I thought I had going concern for life. And just things are like, boom, gone. And I'm just like, holy fuck. So I went home to calibrate. And the good news is when you go home to calibrate and you get to sit with yourself around the people that you love and you get clear on the things that matter. And I'm like, where's my next home in my heart? Where am I going to build from there? And I wrote and I had intention. And all I know is like, where am I going to build next? How can I get myself from feeling like a 0 to 3 in like these majority lives categories to at least be getting positive momentum and get them from 3 to 6? You know, get that 2 to a 4 to a 4 to a 6. Like just do it like piece by piece. And to get myself into a structure and an environment where I can actually set up. And now what's crazy, I think the last month or two, there's been so many weeks where we've calibrated it. Like we've had people ranking in at 13 out of 10 to where to the points where we had such new higher rankings. You know how like may today's 10 be next 3 months, like 8, maybe an 8 then? Like we literally felt the visceral changes and the new paradigms inside of our own bodies and our minds and shifts in what's possible by diving into this. Like once again, the summary of this is having the clear intentions and things that are written down, and to always be having and revisiting it is almost part of a daily cadence, but it's at least as part of your weekly cadence where you're sitting with it and you're like, here's where I'm at and here's what's going on. Like this is all possible. And you don't need a shit ton of money to make this possible. I had low money a lot of times when I was doing this, and this was possible because we set up the right systems and structures and the understanding of how to make things work. Because who knows what's coming tomorrow? Fuck retirement at 63. I knew that was one of the dumbest things when I was like in school. I was like, why do people do that? Like, where's the real intelligence in school to talk about my health and my wealth and my relationships? Like, where is it? I guess I had to go find it myself. But an abundant, beautiful life, you don't need the millions of dollars that you can do it. You can have a system set up to where you are making more money than what you spend, and it's slowly creeping into your ongoing investments, and there will be downturns. That's a huge bullshit fallacy. You don't need to go in these companies. You don't need to exit for these big things and all of a sudden think this big goal is going to happen. Because back to the point where I'm saying, when you hit that big goal, let me tell you this, you're not even going to know what happened. There's no crazy fireworks. You're probably not going to realize it. I remember noticing it years later when I was at one of the music industry conferences, like way after we really made it successful, like years later, I was like, wow, we've really made an impact. This is crazy. And when I went to go sell the companies the week before, I remember I just went to a little music festival in Leyenda, and I'm like, it's done. And I'm like, all I got to do is go back, transfer corporate stock. And when I did, all I did is I went straight to yoga. I went straight to Core Power to do sculpt yoga, to just burn the energy out, because it takes so much energy to sell over a year or two. And then I went to dinner and just sat with myself in like peace. Had dinner in Denver, had a glass of wine. Was like, wow, that was a lot of energy. That was a lot of effort. I'm so happy I'm out from underneath it. What's next? What's next was also scary as fuck. It's like my kids went off to college. These were babies. These were companies that I had versions of when I was 22 that manifested around when I was 26, and where I was just like, I almost didn't want to sell the companies, even though it felt like they were starting to give me negative emotional and financial returns, just because I didn't know what to do. I was like, who the fuck am I? What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to figure it out? Even though those companies were like starting to make money for me and they were like growing, I was just, even when I was not there, I was like, what am I going to do? And it's crazy how the universe throws you off into what's next, because then my intention simply became, what the fuck is next? That's almost like when I went home from Boston last year. It was like literally almost a year to this date. I think it was almost a year to this date when, like, after a relationship ended, where I knew it was really done. I was like, when I went to go meet up with the person and be with them for their birthday, and I'm like, okay, I want this. And they're like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually done. And then I went into a what's next of being at home with like so much in my life, in business and relationship, and where am I, and the existential crisis of when you hit those deca birthdays, right? Like your 20s, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I'm just like, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing? Am I a total piece of shit? like, where am I, and why am I not at these other places? But just to go home and reset the intentions and the calibration to be like, I know I get to reset myself and just go figure out what is next again. I mean, how many times have you gone through that in your life to be like, what's next? What's next? What does it happen? Does it happen deeply, like once every 5 to 10 years, like deeply across many of beautiful life's categories? But you can have this in the beachfront. You don't need ownership. You don't need to go buy the $1 million place. All you need is access, and access is freedom. And when you have great friends you get to share the things with, a lot of the places I go, it's just like spending rent. Couple K a month. You don't need to be paying month back to your place. Go share it with some friends. You can live in beautiful places. And in that art, one lesson I want to reflect on right now is, holy shit, I have lived in some of the most beautiful places and coolest homes in my life for the average rental price. I just knew the bullshit of the world, the bullshit of like what they sell you in home ownership. And I'm not denying that that can't be a powerful investment, but only 5% of people are actually in a position to actually do that. That's why most of like the 2008 thing happened. They're selling you bullshit. And if you aren't going to go live in your home for at least the next 10 or 15 years, because your home is a place to live in first and then an investment later. That's what I learned from like my brothers and my dad when I was going to go buy homes. I was like, they're like, do you want to fuck up your freedom, Brad? I'm like, no, don't want to do it. Not until I have my like life partner, going to build a home with them, co-create with incredible power, sync up together, have awesome magic across all fronts of like passion and business and co-creation of what's there. But I got to live in Steamboat Springs, being poor as F, where people work 50 weeks on to have 2 weeks off on vacation. I lived in Steamboat Springs, snowboarded all the time, had awesome friends. Went to Scottsdale, lived in Scottsdale, had an incredible home with awesome roommates and our dogs. It was like 2 minutes from my business. Scottsdale, incredible experience. Then moved on the beach, one house off the sand in Newport. I think my rent was like $900 at the time. Ended up for a year and a half living with who became one of my best friends from someone on Craigslist. Became so close to them that I'm now the godfather of their kid. That's crazy. Why would you want me as a godfather as a kid after you've lived with me? That's insane. You're insane. You're insane, Don. You know me. and then moving to San Diego to live in Mission Beach, just off the sand, all for like $1,200 to $1,400 a month, living in amazing homes with awesome people. You don't need the millions of dollars and the exit and the bullshit that they're selling you. And if there's one thing I'd love to bring back in the 7 years of reflection of what's there, oh my God, the system and the government and the politics and the school and what they're trying to feed you and all that other bullshit is like 1% of actually what matters to your health, your happiness, your freedom of your time and your money and your relationships and your joy. Like, fuck all that programming, fuck the matrix. Fuck the programming making you go stick some poison in your body in exchange for a donut or like a $100 like gift certificate, right? Like, take a step back and learn these things for yourself, because I believe we're in a radical place of change. I believe the world's shifting. I believe the right people are starting to get into real power. I believe the people who actually have things of value to teach are finally getting into the kids, are finally getting into the relationships, are finally getting into health, because now that we're so connected through the internet, it's almost like you don't need to go to school, and all you need is the right person to be like, just go learn this today. Okay, your mental and physical health come first, right? Okay, we're going to teach you how to meditate for 15 to 20 minutes and visualize. And we're going to have you go be active, and we're going to teach you how to read a nutrition label and put good shit in your body, right? What does that take? A day, a week to teach? Then we're going to teach you things like emotional intelligence and the relationship with yourself, and being consistent therapy and awareness of how crazy this mind is and how deep and dark it can go, but we can control it. And realizing that how important our relationships are and the ones that we love, and to cultivate those and to resolute with those, and to just be aware of who people are, like how amazing the impact of is just 1 to 3 amazing friends, the impact of being an amazing, loving, like romantic relationship. I've had those and had it recently. They're incredible. The power of that tribe, and just like a good family, and just how little it actually takes, rather than taking some years where like 5 through 22 where you're doing these things, and obviously you're going to pay like $100,000 to go learn shit for a piece of paper. I'm not saying that some of that shit doesn't have validity. I'm just saying, just notice where your time and energy is going to, the shit that actually matters to your health, your joy, your well-being, your money, your relationships. And that shift is actually happening, what's there. And people get to have freedom. I think the greatest beauties in life, one thing that I want to give away from the 7 years is, 1, freedom, man, of your time and of your mind and of money, which does take a long time. You can just work the system with your money little by little, and make it positive, invest in the right places. But may you have the freedom to do mini retirements while you are young, in your 20s and in your 30s and in your 40s and your 50s, because it can be done, because you deserve the extra Friday off. You deserve the extra week off. Even if you can do it without pay, that's a beautiful thing, that you can get to a culture and in a place where you can have all of that time off as much as possible. We built it in our companies. It's doable. People deserve 2 weeks off a year minimum just to handle your health stuff. I don't know about you, but when I go to the doctors, how much time do I need to spend at the dentist, the heart doctor, the physical doctor? And now he's like, you got to go get this, and this changed. And now you're doing all these other tests. And even being a healthy person, it probably takes me 1 to 2 weeks to get my insurance and just this whole weird body handled from head to toe. And it could be something simple as like getting the haircut, getting the skin, dermatology, eyes, nose, ears, throat, body, heart, organs, prostate, legs, energy, cardiovascular, circulatory. Like, you deserve that time off as much as possible to handle what really matters, and to be able to doing a lot more what you love with the people that you love. Super blessed to go to an incredible event today that I found yesterday. It's going to be a full day event of just great talks and music. But if I'm going to wrap this up into the summary of things and lessons is this, and what to really invest your time and money, mental energy into, is 1, because time is your most precious asset, master your time management skills. They also call it systems and processes. They also call it business operations. It just doesn't matter. It's so easy to study. I have the resources. I could forward those to you. Study that so that you can get at least half your time back and almost all your sanity so you can focus on what really matters. And your structure will be so much more powerful for everything that you want to create so that you build instead of implode. Learn accounting and financials intelligence. You can learn it in 2 to 4 weeks. I've taught some business owners and other people who didn't know it within 3 hours. When we set up the cadence, the next thing you know, everything's tracked and translated how they want to see it. Know that if that matters to you. If time matters to you and your freedom, go study the first thing. If money matters to you, go study the second thing. And the lesson that I embedded from Good to Great, that book, is who is on your bus? Man, who is on your bus in your business and your tribe? Almost anyone can learn anything. Nothing's really fucking rocket science besides rocket science. You know, you do need a degree in deep training for things like being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a rocket scientist. But all else, the things that I know are so like kindergarten. Like I have no real special intelligence. It's so kindergarten. It's so Sesame Street that anyone can learn it and just learn about who is on your bus and notice who's entering that door. And to go cultivate that and to be super aware of it. And the last thing is the power of your intention in your mind of what you're going to be writing down, which is why I love the book, The Alchemist. I've probably read it 4 or 5 times when I travel. The power of your written word, the power of your written thing, the power of the plasticity of the brain, the power of even from what's one of the greatest money and financial books of all time. Doesn't everyone point to Think and Grow Rich? What is the first 2 chapters all about? What is the first 2 chapters all about in those books? All they do, call it the law of attraction, call it Abraham Hicks, call it Joe Dispenza, call it the Rob Proctors, call it the Think and Grow Riches of it. All they talk about in the first 1 to 2 chapters is this. Recognize that there's a power in this universe that is way beyond you, that there's a co-creation that is out there. And since I've dove in deep into that and that relationship and learning to let go and to trust that as well, the acceleration of the manifestation and the conspiracy of the universe to be working in my favor has gone through the fucking roof. And it's only because of that that I'm having radical success and joy on so many levels, which is why I want to share these things that are working. But there's a power in the universe and the power of your mind to sit there and see things until you actually feel it. And there's an emotion to it and things that I don't think we'll ever really be able to explain and actually see in the way the signs show up. But it's real and it's there, and the power of your mind and the intention and the visualization. And to start with that, when the first thing it is when you wake up in the morning. And one of my first visualizations of the prior years that I was doing every day was simply, what the fuck does it look, sound, and feel like just to be at a general baseline of joy again? Just that. Just that. What does it look, sound, and feel like to have an incredible home again? And where am I going to build that from? But it's powerful. And notice when you write things down, it's almost insane how close it happens on the date. I remember when I wanted to get out of the company in Arizona because we expanded too fast, and then 2008 hit. So all of a sudden we went from a 1,200 square foot place into a 5,500 square foot place. Then I also bought out another company. So I took all the cash reserves that we had from the first company, and all of a sudden we like quadrupled our overhead with space that we weren't even using because we're an internet company. I just used up all the cash reserves, and then 2008 hit, and then we needed to double our inventory based on the retail drum shop that we bought out because the vendors wanted us to match it, which was probably a couple $100,000. And all of a sudden I was like, holy fuck. After that was happening for a year, you stop paying yourself, you start seeing red, you start seeing real red, and you get worried about your team and you stress out. That was one of the most stressful times in my life, was staring at the ceiling, being like, when am I going to have these conversations? How am I going to make sure this team can still be with me when they're the ones that actually built this? Like, I remember a lot of times crying, but I was like, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to get rid of this storefront. I need to find a way out. I need to just get back to a baseline. And I wrote down on an Excel sheet, I'm like, this place, I will be out of this lease. I will negotiate my way out of this lease no matter what it fucking takes. And I will be out on this day. And through like 6 months of the negotiation, I was supposed to have the place for another 3 to 4 years. And call it crazy signs from the universe. The last day, we're packing up the truck, we're grabbing all the inventory, putting it into a semi, and it was all going up to Denver. And finally, like, you're just throwing those last huge boxes in, and I'm like, and you clean the place, and I'm like, holy shit, it's done. Holy shit, it's done. Then I went back to my home. 2 things crazy happened. Went back to my home, opened up my computer, saw the Excel sheet, and I'm like, it will be sold on, I will be out of this place by this date. And it was the exact date. I think it was May 31st. That was crazy. And when I was walking out of the front of that retail storefront, I was walking out right near the front desk area, just checking a final sweep, getting ready to lock the keys. And it was crazy. Like, this was one of those crazy fucking universe things. And there was a piece of paper from one of those fortune cookies. You know, when you go to P.F. Chang's and things like that, there's a piece of paper that was sitting on the ground right between the desk and the door. And I reached down and grabbed it, and I picked it up, and it said, "Your goal will soon be met." And I was like, holy fuck. So I took that home, you know, and just put it in my, call it, box of universe signs. But there's a power to this universe where you can co-create, and I think it really stems from the power of the universe of your mind. And we can control it imperfectly. We can still be in vital control and still watch the emotions go down. I mean, I've been on such a high to the point where even 2 days ago, I just hit a deep low. I mean, it went boom, it went low fast. And it was just all from something I was excited about, you know, in a dating potential that didn't work out. And boom, went down. But my resilience and my capacity to bounce back super fast, to realize that there's so much more out there and so much more possibilities, and to feel that, and to sit with the mind in itself and our lessons, and to feel through things and to get it, because this thing is crazy powerful, and you get to invest your time and money and energy into this thing, this machine, this beautiful machine between your mind and your body. And I believe that a big part of my mental health, it's like 80% drives the emotional health. I believe that 80% of the emotional health can drive your body health, right? That sickness health relationship that was there. Because when I got really acutely aware of my body, when I started studying Gary Brecka and Tim Ferriss, the shape of my body became incredible. Like, I look fucking amazing for 50 years old. And I feel amazing. And how fast it started shaping my body and my mind was just awesome. And it was all from, what is the minimum effective dose of what I can do to get to a maximum amount of joy, as well as my body into a machine. And it's crazy because I cut my gym time down by at least like 75%. Just minimum effective doses. What is the minimum effective dose? I think that should be the great theme of this, is what is the minimum effective dose that you can do to have the most powerful life? And it's to go to study those things, and to be able to spend 30 to 60 minutes on a day on those habits and the things that actually matter. And it's okay if you miss a day. No one needs the perfection. It's a good rant. It's 11:04. I get to go play with plants and people and music and talks. Resurrect yourself, because you are God.